And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this 17th day of October. Well, it's a beautiful day right here in Brisbane, even though it might be a little bit cloudy today. But the temperatures I cooled 21 degrees, a bit of cloud around today. And once again, welcome to this week. And once again, Brisbane has been a hive of activity over the weekend. Not today, but by tomorrow we will bring you lots of glimpses from the functions and events which are still in the system to be downloaded. And once we get them up and ready, we will be talking about a lot of those as well. But once again, it's wonderful to see you and have your company on this day today. Let's get going with the news for today. And the first one, what's in the budget for this year?
Keeping budget expectations low has been a key strategy for this government, but it's now promising almost $10 billion in this month's budget to begin making good on election commitments.
They are really very much part of the bread and butter budget that we're about to see, which is about our infrastructure funding going forward.
Almost a quarter of the multi-billion-dollar deal will go towards the suburban rail loop in Melbourne, where it's now a key state election issue, and the Auditor-General is raising questions over its business case.
We promised $2.2 billion and we'll deliver $2.2 billion in our first budget.
This will be a contested project, I'm sure, but it's something we have confidence in.
New South Wales will only get half that amount for infrastructure.
Anthony Albanese is shortchanging New South Wales, taking money out of our infrastructure program.
We had a slightly different relationship in opposition with the Victorians as we did with New South Wales, so we didn't really have a lot of projects on the table from opposition from them, but we'll talk to the New South Wales government in the lead up to the May budget.
And in Queensland, there'll be almost $1.5 billion for projects, including Bruce Highway upgrades. But thanks to the Rorts and Waste audit, there'll still be plenty of projects on the scrap heap. They could include regional grants secured by the Nationals in exchange for support for the previous government's net zero emissions target.
Are there business cases? Were there any detail underpinning some of these big, injections that were made basically to pay Barnaby Joyce off?
And the projects that do survive could be delayed. The government says it'll push back some projects to help find the money for others. Dana Morse, ABC News, Canberra.
Hey guys, so it will election, as we have said, I think on Saturday's news segment, we talked about the budget and of course about election promises is always sometimes a hard thing to manage, and many times there are the parties which backflip on their promises, and that's not a very good thing, but of course it does come at a very high cost as well. Election promises, and many times there are projects that are on priority, but other ones get priority because they have been in the process. Well, right now let's go to look at the flood situation.
An army of people in Echuca have spent the day protecting their town.
We've set this one up here with the army a couple of days ago, and this has been identified as one of the points in town that if it breaks, the whole town will go.
The Campaspe River rose quicker than expected, and by lunchtime large parts of Echuca were submerged. The massive levee bank saved the front of Ray Byron's house, but the water snuck in behind him.
My motorbike's under, pool room's under, just all come from the back.
But at least the family heirlooms were saved.
My son wanted our stereo when I passed away, so I've moved that up, so he's right.
Ron Ash couldn't believe how quickly the water rose this morning. He says it's the worst he's ever seen.
I just feel a bit dead inside. There's nothing you can do about it. The water's here, we knew it was coming. And when it goes through your house, you sort of think, well, now what's going to happen next?
While the Campaspe is the source of these floodwaters, there's more water moving down the Murray River, with locals worrying about what they're seeing in their tea leaves.
It hasn't peaked yet here, so it could come back and snooker us again. But anyway, we'll just keep kicking on.
Well, we've all had our little cries and that. Our house is insured for flood, so bad luck, we just start again.
To the west, the Avoca River looks like it will stay below the levels of the 2011 floods. Daryl Ministers lived there for 60 years and was one of many who chose to stay and protect their property.
In 2011, all these houses had water in them. Well, have a look now, they haven't sort of got the water in them. They've got it in their yard, but it's not going in their houses.
It's expected to peak later tonight. Sarah Lawrence, ABC News.
So there you go, that's the flood situation. Now keeping an eye on that, and in many areas people have been asked to evacuate and move to safer areas.
So we still have evacuate now orders out in place for Charlton, for Echuca itself, and the one that came into the picture yesterday was Bombartha. So it's just north of Shepparton, which just reflects the Goulburn and the water that is moving through Shepparton and up to the Murray.
Okay, so Shepparton's a big flashpoint. How serious could it become in Shepparton?
Look, in Shepparton, we've seen significant flooding in Mooroopna and Shepparton itself. There were requests for about 56 rescues overnight, and there's still a number of those to be undertaken today. So we've certainly got a lot more work to do there. Some relatively good news. We're hearing that the peak is at 12.01 metres as opposed to 12.02, which will mean less properties, but there will still be a significant number of properties impacted there. But as I said, this water will move up that particular river system, and it will impact in Echuca where you are. We'll have this second peak for Echuca Tuesday, Wednesday this week.
So there you are, that's an update from the SES as well. But what's going to happen to all the people who are affected by the floods? Are there any payments in place?
As residents removed waterlogged furniture and damaged possessions in Maribyrnong, many more are still bracing for what will likely be a long and costly clean-up across the state.
With all the supply chain issues already, plus you can imagine the demand that's going to be.
9,000 Victorians have already applied for an emergency payment to help with shelter or other essentials, but that won't be enough. The federal government has announced eligible adults in the hardest hit local government areas will receive a one-off non-means tested payment of $1,000 and children $400.
This support is of course small compensation, but it does mean that people are getting that support on the ground.
Local authorities are already feeling the pinch, with the state government to fork out $500,000 to councils affected.
We don't want finances to be a limiting factor on them being able to step in and provide the care and support, the recovery, and of course the clean-up and rebuilding that we know is so important.
That's going to go a long way. As we said, once we get to the peak, post that, straight into recovery. We're going to be pushing as much as we possibly can into supporting those people in need.
This major flooding event is also expected to force some insurance premiums up. However, experts are warning many homeowners will struggle to afford any price hikes.
Do you put food on the table, send the kids to school and put petrol in your car? Or do you buy an insurance premium? You're going to do the things that are most important to day-to-day life.
For those who've had to evacuate, 250 beds at the former COVID-19 quarantine facility in Mickleham will be open from Tuesday.
This has never been used for this purpose before, so we have to wait and see what sort of demand there'll be.
And that will depend on how widespread and high floodwaters end up. Yvette Gray, ABC News.
So there you are, that's the payment scheme, and that premises that was built for COVID-19 isolation can come in very handy in times like this. Well, let's right now, New South Wales Labor Party conference kicks ahead of election. Let's take a look at that.
After 12 years in the electoral wilderness, New South Wales Labor came together at Sydney Town Hall, joined in the belief its moment has come.
The women and men behind me are ready for the responsibilities of office, ready for the challenges and opportunities of government, and ready to take on Dominic Perrottet.
But today was very much about the man who could take the state's top job. And Chris Minns made it a family affair.
Chris is determined to lead Labor to victory in 2023. And when he does, he will be a Labor leader in the best traditions of our party.
The opposition leader played to the Labor crowd by unveiling a policy to manufacture trains locally. A signal to the rail union, which is in a bitter dispute with the government, in part over South Korean-built trains.
If Labor wins, we won't see anything that looks like a train being unloaded from a ship. We'll build it here.
Mr Minns also pledged to make 10,000 temporary teachers permanent, which the government quickly matched.
I'm not going to get into a tit for tat with the Labor Party. The reality is we have said for a long time that we wanted to provide these opportunities.
On display, unsurprisingly, has been a party with its sights set on the March election. But that didn't stop factional division and disharmony on the floor of the conference, which threatened the sense of unity the Labor parliamentary team has been at pains to portray. Infighting has cost Chris Minns a member of his front bench after a vote of 850 Labor delegates. Mick Veitch, the long-serving country Labor MLC, has lost his place on the upper house ticket for the March election. Ashley Raper, ABC News, Sydney.
So there you go. That's the conference well underway. Well, right now, when we look at many countries and where people are living in hunger and food, where does Australia stand on that? Where are we?
I've been at Food Bank for 6 years now and I've never seen it like this before. We are seeing people who've never needed food relief coming forward. And in fact, what we've found is that people who went into the pandemic vulnerable have come out the other side in an even more vulnerable position. Some of these findings are just shocking.
And when you're looking at the number of children, I mean, that then, so much then rolls on from that, impacts on education and their development.
That's right. We've got 1.3 million children across Australia living in food insecure households. Their parents are working so hard to shield them from the realities of hunger in Australia. But unfortunately, it means that they are making compromises on the type of food that they are eating. They're not getting enough fresh fruit and vegetables. And we know how important it is for young Australians, for young people in Australia, to get an appropriate diet, culturally appropriate, nutritious food. We don't want them falling asleep in class. We don't want these children to be struggling at school. We have a lot more work to do if we're to get to everyone who needs support.
Brianna, one of the interesting points out of this is that people still had food insecurity, even though there were members in the household who were working, who had paid work.
That's correct.
So what does that say to you?
Yeah, 54% of people across, or 54% of households across Australia struggling with food insecurity have someone with employment. It means that a job is no longer a shield against food insecurity. It means that we are seeing people who are not only working one job, sometimes two or several jobs to make ends meet, and it is no longer enough to stop that struggle at the supermarket about what people can afford. I'm seeing it in my local supermarket. It's the people who are really struggling when they get to the checkout, and you can see them taking out those big, heavy items as they do their groceries. And I think the other thing that we're seeing, and in fact for the first time in the history of the Food Bank Hunger Report, is that natural disasters are shining through as a key contributor to food insecurity. So we're seeing this collision of a cost of living crisis with an income crisis, where people are saying they're struggling with all of those expenses in the household budget. They're going up. Every aspect of that budget's going up, but unfortunately the income isn't following suit.
Interesting figures as we're 8 days out from a federal budget. The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, has said he knows life is going to be tough.
It is, but it's tougher for some than others. And we are only a week out from the federal budget. I understand the narrative about the $1 trillion worth of debt. We're all hearing it very clearly. But we need cost of living pressure relief, and we need it now. If not now, then when? For families across Australia, and we are talking about 500,000 households on any given day, they are making ultimate sacrifices about being able to get food on their table for themselves and their families. They need help now.
Some very hard-hitting facts there from Food Bank, and you wouldn't believe that that would be happening right here in Australia. But that is the case. That is the reality. When they talk about families, working families. And I know for sure that even many small to medium businesses as well, doing it very, very tough. Very hard to, keep their heads above water by paying all the bills and everything, because the cost of production and cost of doing business is just rising. And as mentioned in the report, the income level is just not there to match that. For our next report, we go to Canberra. Remember that the 3 died in that horror crash collision on the fringes of Canberra. Here's that report.
Dan, police were called to this scene just north of Coppins Crossing Road in Whitlam at 2:45 p.m, where they found a small red hatchback and a white van had crashed. Investigators are still here trying to work out exactly what happened, and it's believed they'll be here for several more hours. What we know is that emergency services had to use the jaws of life to cut 4 people from the red hatchback. 3 passengers, adults, were tragically pronounced dead at the scene. The 4th person, who was the driver, has been taken to hospital in a critical condition, and a 5th person, who was the driver of the other van, was also taken to hospital.
There were 4 people in a small red hatchback that had to be extricated. A number of them were pronounced deceased on the scene by ACT ambulance service, and the impact that had on staff working at the scene with deceased there while still trying to do their best for those people that had survived the accident and get them out of the vehicle so they could be transported to the hospital in a very timely manner.
Look, one of the key things that we wanted, as my colleague Jim said before, is for people to slow down. It's an ongoing investigation. We won't speculate at this stage, but lower speed means that people are safer on the roads.
Emmy, you mentioned that investigation's ongoing, so just what happens from here?
Dan, as we've heard, police aren't keen to speculate on the cause of this crash, but the tragedy takes the ACT's road toll for this year to 17, and tragically that's the highest since 2010, when 18 lives were lost. As that ACTAS representative just said, it's families that have lost these loved ones, but it's also incredibly distressing for the first responders who come upon these situations. And now police are urging witnesses and anyone who may have dash cam footage to contact Crime Stoppers.
Yeah, please do so if you have any footage, as they mentioned. Of course, we know that the first responders always have to face that traumatic scene. Well, one is part of the training, could be train them up for that, but nothing ever trains you when you receive all the trainings, but when you actually face that face to face, that is the hard-hitting facts, and it's very hard. It takes a mental toll on you as well. Well, for the next news, let's go to Western Australia and look at the public trustee judges.
Retired Perth engineer Barry Adamson counts this year as one of his worst, for 2 reasons.
I'm 85 now, and I just found that the most stressful period of my life was when my wife passed away. The second most stressful part of my life has been dealing with a public trustee.
When his wife of 60 plus years, Maxine, died in May, she left him all her assets. But then the WA public trustee, the executor of her estate, sent him a bill for more than $19,000. They said it would take 28 hours of work, worth about $16,000, just to change her shares in 7 ASX-listed companies into his name. Mr Adamson's granddaughter is a bookkeeper.
It would have taken me an hour, a couple of hours, if I was doing the whole way through, like going to the bank with them, that sort of thing. But it's not rocket science.
After he requested a review, the bill for his shares was halved, although stockbrokers say that's still a high cost for the job. Mr Adamson fears that many in his situation would be too scared to challenge their bills.
Because it's a big government department, handling many hundreds of millions of dollars, I would think that people would get intimidated fairly quickly.
According to one estate's lawyer, public trustees overcharging deceased estates is a national trend.
An executor of an estate has a duty and obligation to maximise the benefit of the estate for the beneficiaries, and part of that obligation is to ensure the costs are minimised.
The public trustee says it takes 4 hours' work at $313 an hour to complete a share transfer. A consultant is reviewing its deceased estate's fees. As for Mr Adamson, he's more relaxed now. He's removed the public trustee as executor of his will. Rebecca Turner, ABC News.
Well, there we go. So how does public trustee get involved? As you In your will and everything, if you put down a public trustee as the executor of your will, then they do take charge. Or if you don't have any will in place as well. So, but do check the legalities on that. And people would have thought that, you know, if you didn't have anything, that public trustee would do the right thing and come in and protect the general consumers or the general public out there. Not quite the case from this report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. India is all set to host the 17th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention 8 to 10th January 2023 in Indore, Madhya Pradesh. The official website for the event was launched to commence online registration for participants. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar launched the website for the 17th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention on 13th October 2022. Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Minister of State for External Affairs Shri V. Muralidharan also participated in the launch ceremony. The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention is a flagship event of the Government of India and provides an important platform to engage and connect with the overseas Indian diaspora. The 17th PBT Convention will be organized from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore in Madhya Pradesh in collaboration with the Government of Madhya Pradesh. The 17th PBT Convention will be held in a physical format after a gap of 4 years. The last PBT Convention in 2021 was held virtually during the COVID pandemic. The theme of PBT Convention 2023 is Diaspora, Reliable Partners for India's Progress in Amrit Kal.
With their undying spirit and hard work, our overseas brethren have carved out a place for themselves in whichever area they chose, be it finance, business, art, culture, science, medicine, law, education, or politics. Presently, there are over 32 million, 3.2 crore overseas Indians, of which nearly 18 million have accepted the nationality of their host countries and 14 million retain their Indian passports. This diaspora has preserved its Indian culture, heritage and traditions, and it is really heartening to see the cuisine, languages, folklore, rituals of India being cherished, upheld and passed down from one generation to another, even in far-off lands.
The PBT Convention 2023 will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on 9th January 2023. The Youth PBT will be held on 8th January 2023 in partnership with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. On 10th January 2023, President Srimati Draupadi Murmu will confer Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards and preside over the valedictory session. The launch of the PBT website marks the commencement of online registration for participation in the PBT Convention 2023. The website also provides various other information about PBT 2023. Launching the website, Dr. Jaishankar said that since 2014, the government has accorded the highest priority to our more than 32 million diaspora and that our engagement is founded on the 4 C's of care, connect, celebrate and contribute. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that India's indigenous 5G platform is ready to be shared with other countries as well. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on October 13 said that the 5G technology in India is completely indigenous except for some critical parts imported from countries like South Korea. During an interaction with students at the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies in Washington, she asserted that India is ready to share the 5G technology with other countries as well. The Indian Finance Minister said that India considers itself a development partner for developing countries. The story of India's 5G is yet to reach the public, but it is an accompaniment that India has achieved completely on its own. Citing the private companies that launched 5G in limited cities, the minister said that most of the country will be able to avail of the technology by 2024. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the 5G technology earlier this month at India Mobile Congress 2022 in New Delhi. The 5G services began with Bharti Airtel rolling out services in 8 cities including Delhi, Mumbai, Varanasi and Bengaluru. Reliance Industries' Jio 5G network will cover the remotest corners of India by December. Advanced version of Vande Bharat train launched from Una Travel time from Delhi to Chandigarh reduced to 3 hours. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on October 13th inaugurated a new Vande Bharat Express in Himachal Pradesh's Una. On this train, a passenger can travel from Delhi to Chandigarh in just about 3 hours. This is the fourth Vande Bharat train to be introduced in India and is an advanced version compared to the earlier ones, being much lighter and capable of reaching higher speeds in a shorter duration. The latest Vande Bharat Express train will run 6 days a week except on Wednesdays, with stops at Ambala, Chandigarh, Anandpur Sahib and Una. The high-speed train can accelerate to 100 km per hour in just 52 seconds. The inauguration of the train comes close on the heels of the announcement of the Himachal Pradesh Legislative in November 2022. In September 2022, Modi flagged off the third Vande Bharat Express in another pole-bound state, Gujarat. This train runs from Gandhinagar to Mumbai. Prime Minister Modi also laid the foundation stones of two hydropower projects in Himachal's Chamba district and bulk drug park. The bulk drug park will be built at a cost of over 1900 crores. The park will help reduce dependence on API imports. It is expected to attract investment of around 10,000 crores and employ more than 20,000 people. Toyota has launched flexi fuel strong hybrid electric vehicles pilot project in India. Japanese multinational automotive manufacturer Toyota has started the Flexi Fuel Strong Hybrid Electric Vehicles pilot project in India as part of its future aspirations for a sustainable society. The Toyota Corolla Altis FFV SHEV, which was imported by Toyota from Brazil for this endeavour, was introduced by the company. Toyota launched the pilot project in the presence of Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari, Union Minister of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change Bhupendra Yadav, Union Minister of Heavy Industries Dr. Mahendra Nath Pandey and Minister of State for Petroleum and Natural Gas for the Government of Delhi. The project is the business's initial step in introducing and developing ethanol awareness. Furthermore, TKM and the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore inked an agreement of collaboration. According to the agreement, the Indian Institute of Science will get the collected data in order to carry out a more thorough investigation of the well-to-wheel carbon emissions of FFV and FFV SHEV in the Indian context. By implementing a 20% ethanol mix in gasoline by 2025 to 2026, the amount of gasoline produced will be reduced by around 86 million barrels. Additionally, it's anticipated that the program would help save 30,000 crores or $3.7 billion in foreign exchange. On 14th October, Indian Equity Index BSE Sensex zoomed over 1,000 points and NSE Nifty reclaimed 17,300 marks in morning trade. Indian indices opened on a positive note on October 14th with Nifty rising above the 17,300 point mark. In the early morning trade, the Sensex was up 1,068.31 points or 1.87% at 58,303.64 and the Nifty was up 295 points or 1.73% at 17,309.30. About 1,619 shares have advanced, 241 shares declined and 74 shares stay unchanged. Stocks had traded lower a day earlier due to volatility as equity indices declined largely due to elevated inflation levels in the country. Analysts believe that the opening is probably going to gap higher in line with firm global indications. Investors are anticipating the release of the day's wholesale inflation statistics. The IMF and analysts have said India will be able to weather geopolitical and economic uncertainty and still perform is encouraging to traders. S&P Global Ratings stated that growth in Asia-Pacific economies like China, India and Indonesia will be less affected because their economies are more domestically oriented, providing some support. Meanwhile, the rupee seemed to have stabilized on expectations of possible intervention by the RBI through liquidity management to defend the depreciating rupee. The trailer of Thank God with Bollywood stars Ajay Devgan and Siddharth Malhotra has been released. Here is a look at what's being called a Diwali special treat. Producers of the film Thank God shared another trailer from the film on October 13, calling it a Diwali special treat. The trailer, just like the first one, chronicles the game of life played by modern-day Chitragupt played by Ajay Devgan and Ayan played by Siddharth Malhotra, who is there to pay for his sins. In the trailer, Ajay Devgan introduces himself as CG, as in Chitragupt. He tells Siddharth Malhotra that they are all set to play the game of life after a couple of poor jokes and a main-car dancing montage featuring Nora Fateh. Ajay Devgan schools Siddharth Malhotra about an important life lesson. Ajay Devgan, sharing the trailer, wrote, "No one can outrun their karma or me." Thank God is on its way to make your Diwali more extravagant. Thank God the Diwali trailer is out now in cinemas on 25th October. Sharing the same trailer, Siddharth Malhotra wrote, "Celebrate the festival of lights with Ayan as he ventures into the game of life and redeems himself of all his sins." Thank God is directed by Indra Kumar and co-produced by Bhushan Kumar and Krishan Kumar. The film marks Ajay Devgan and Siddharth Malhotra's first collaboration. Meanwhile, Ajay Devgan and Rakul Preet Singh have previously worked together in De De Pyar De and Runway 34. The film is slated to release in theatres on October 25th. Another Diwali special from Bollywood. Intrigued fans of upcoming film Phone Booth will see star Katrina Kaif gyrating in a new song Kinna Sona released on October 13th. Katrina Kaif fans waiting to see a glimpse of the actress's avatar in her upcoming film Phone Booth are in for a treat. The makers of the film have released her new song Kinna Sona, in which Katrina is seen wearing a red short. Siddhant Chaturvedi and Nishan Khattar will be seen doing dance steps with her on this song. Kinna Sona has a dark night ambience that makes you recall the cabaret dances that made Helen so famous. Katrina dazzles in the song. Both Ishan and Siddhant as supporting dancers also look good. The song Kinna Sona is written by Tanishq Bagchi and sung by Zara and Tanishq Bagchi. This song has been shot in a palace. It is being speculated that the film is ready to create panic on the screen. The song Kinna Sona has become a hit on social media, has got thousands of views, and this figure is increasing. In the film Phone Booth, Katrina Kaif, Siddhant Chaturvedi and Ishan Khattar will be seen sharing the screen together for the first time. It is known that this film will be released on November 4, 2022, and Katrina Kaif will scare people by becoming a ghost. It is being said that his character in the film is very interesting and has never been seen before. Phone Booth is a horror comedy directed by Gurmeet Singh. Ritesh Sidhwani and Farhan Akhtar have jointly produced this film. That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you are, up to date on Australian Indian Radio, and that's quite a good report there from Ankita from the PI TV, and of course that is a special presentation for Australian Indian Radio, as we have mentioned. Well, today, let's take a look at now all the functions and events taking place here in Brisbane. And we are going to try and present that in a slightly different format today. Let's see how it goes and if this format is a good one. So right now, let's look at the first event, Hindu Dharma classes for children. So this is a wonderful project of Vishwa Hindu Mahaprasad. We should be looking at that as well. Next one is let's celebrate the Kartik month together. Let's celebrate Kartik month together from October 10th till November 8th. Next up, Maha Avatar Babaji Sushma Kriya Yoga Meditation. And for more information, log on to www.divyabablajiKriyayoga.org, and that you can scan that code that's up there on the screen as well. Next up, we have Sked Sunday Braki, and now Sked was present at the Benyo Diwali as well. They had the stall there celebrating all the things because it is a fundraising for their temple. So the next few slides will be for all about their programs. So they're looking at the Godan. If you're looking at Godan, donations of $201, supporting a very, very good cause there. So you can look at that as well. And next up, we have the Vedanta Center. And of course, we know that at the Vedanta Center, there's so many functions that are always taking place. Please check out their website for all the upcoming functions and events, because there are quite a few functions and events that do take place. As you can see from the screen, that it might look like a very hard to read, but you do check out the website. There's a lot happening out there. And next up, Science Astan Brisbane, Sai Baba Aarti, which takes second and last Sunday of every month at Coopers Plains State School, 61 Orange Grove Road in Coopers Plains, 6 p.m. Ganesh Puja and Aarti and Prabhachan. So there are the contact numbers there. You can contact them for any updates that you might need. So this is going to be a beautiful program. Queensland Sangeet Mela presents Sahana Banerjee on Saturday, November 19th at Sunnybank Christ of Church Hall, which is in Sunnybank. Bookings are available through Try Booking, but this is going to be one beautiful concert. She's such a talented artist, and Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio is proud to be supporting that event. Would like to see you all there. Next up is the Tamil Association of Queensland and the Diwali. As we know, they have been presenting that for over quite a few years. Another great function to be associated with. The Federation of Indian Communities of Queensland presents their Deepavali program on Friday 28th from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. at King George Square, Brisbane CBD. By popular demand, Chini Nathu is back in Brisbane, this time teaming up with Tarun Raniga, and this is going to be a very, very good concert with many people in attendance with that. And of course, when we look at all the artists that are going to be accompanying him, it is just wonderful to see Dr. Neela, DJ Desi, of course, with an amazing sound, and Demand that there as well joining in. So this is going to be another beautiful program. Please do get your tickets if you haven't got the tickets as yet. Saturday, the 29th of October, 6:30 p.m. at the Sabian Centre Auditorium, Camden Road, Willawong. Next track on the 30th of October, Sangeet Sanjay by Kannada Sangha Queensland. Once again, we are supporting that event. It will be at the Kupuru Secondary School, Kannada Raja Utsav and Deepavali together with that. Some amazing stars joining in with that. And of course, if you like to advertise your functions, your events right here on this channel, please do contact our office and secure your spot. And we are proudly supporting all the multicultural communities out there with 15,000 copies. We are the only print media which has constantly kept the print running, not as and when required. We print each and every month, and we have been doing so for the last 19 years. So these are some of the contact numbers there as well. And right now I'd like to also mention the White Ribbon Day, which is coming up, and would like to seek your support in supporting a wonderful organization that is raising awareness against domestic violence. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's been the new format of the functions and events. I'd like to get your feedback and see what you think of this format. Well, once again, as I mentioned before, it's always wonderful to have your company on board, and so good that you could join us here today. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.